Since LeBron James entered the league 21 years ago, there has not been a more highly regarded NBA prospect than Victor Wembanyama. The 7'4" phenom was hailed as an alien for years before he even got to the league, and possessed traits we'd never seen from a prospect. He'd be the tallest man in the NBA on day one, with an 8-foot wingspan and a fluidity of movement and level of perimeter skill that you couldn't have imagined was possible for a man of that size. Before he set foot in the league, there was not the hope, but the expectation this man would be one of the greatest players in NBA history. But Wemby's career didn't get off to the smoothest start. He certainly had special moments, but he found himself on one of the worst teams in the league, who lost 18 straight games earlier this season. His inexperienced teammates were frequently mocked for poor awareness and tunnel vision. They came at the expense of his production. His efficiency was really bad, his turnover numbers were really high, and he found himself a clear underdog for Rookie of the Year to Chet Holmgren. But a little over a month ago, Wemby made the switch from starting power forward to center, knocking Zach Collins out of the starting lineup, and the results since then have been phenomenal. Wemby's efficiency has skyrocketed, his raw production has gone up across the board, even as he's been on a minutes restriction lately due to a nagging ankle injury, and the Spurs have even started to win a few games. Not many, and mostly against bad teams, but a few. Bottom line, the alien is figuring out his new terrain, and there's been a few key ways we've seen Wemby take meaningful steps forward in this recent stretch as he has started to dominate. Wemby's efficiency has taken a massive leap since he moved to center, in large part because his shot quality has been much higher. Wemby's perimeter skills are super impressive for a 7'4", 20-year-old, but they aren't his bread and butter. And early in the year, the Spurs were asking him to do a bit too much creating for himself from the perimeter, and that hurt his efficiency. He was still prone to losing his handle and didn't have some killer first step to separate because he's a big, so he'd often settle for tough jumpers, and his outside shots always been inconsistent. So the wing stuff is cool, and there's a lot of upside there, but it's not what he's best at. And the Spurs were not doing enough to manufacture high-quality looks for him around the rim as a big, where he's a unique finishing weapon given his size, length, and agility. But since Wemby moved to center, his volume and efficiency around the rim has increased by a lot, as has his involvement in pick and roll now that he's the lone starting big and doesn't have to split those opportunities with Collins. Wemby is a problem as a roller for one major reason. If you put the ball anywhere around the rim, he can go up and get it. Here, the big drops, and Devin Vassell doesn't even engage him at all as a driver. He just sees Wemby has a bit of a step and throws the lob up there, leading him way too far with this pass by any mortal's standards. But Wemby uses his unmatched length to extend and maintains his body control to finish even as his momentum is carrying him past the rim. His catch radius is obscene, and it's not only useful on lobs. This pass is way off target. It is effectively to the defensive player, but Wemby fully extends, tips it up to himself, and easily reverses. The combination of body control and length he possesses is one of one. This spin is fluid, and then look at where he releases this ball from. Brook Lopez is 7'1" with a 7'6" wingspan, and he looks like a kid trying to jump up to get a toy back from his dad. Wemby can just go over top of defenders as a finisher in a way other people can't because his arms can extend from so far out. So basically, if you can just get him around the rim and then get him the ball, you've got 2 points, and pick and roll is the best way to do that. In the half court at least, because Wemby's also a nightmare to deal with in the open court. He's so athletic and agile that he runs the floor better than maybe any big in the league, and he leads all centers in transition scoring this season. That means he can grab a board, pass the ball, run the floor hard, and catch a lob in a span of just a few seconds. He's also comfortable handling as a grab-and-go guy. This is a smooth behind-the-back move into a poster over a 7-footer, not normal for a center. And less flashy, but also devastatingly effective, Wemby can hunt cross matches in transition. If he outruns a slower-footed big who's supposed to be guarding him down the floor, somebody else has to pick him up. And if Wemby can get good position and seal that smaller defender off, they have no prayer of affecting his shot. The easiest way to score is in transition. You can get out in the open floor with a numbers advantage, avoid facing a set defense, and weaponize your athletic strengths to the fullest extent. No center in the league is doing a better job of that right now than Wemby, and it's one of the more underrated, exceptional parts of his game. But Wemby's got other ways to get to the rim by creating separation off ball. Watch how he capitalizes on the threat he poses from the perimeter here. coming off a down screen to seemingly flow into a handoff. Again, this guy is 7'4", and Giannis actually thinks that that's what he's about to do before he sharply cuts back here for an open dunk. He's got some pass rusher moves off ball. Here, he hits the swim move, then again shows his ability to catch and finish from a variety of angles, reversing this in one fluid motion. This is an awesome give and go, where he spins off the little guy the second he passes this ball away, and that's a great way to weaponize his size advantage and get a step without trying to take a quicker defender who's lower to the ground and can affect his handle off the dribble. Wemby has perimeter skill, but these big man play types, pick and roll, cutting, give him much cleaner paths to efficient offense and set him up to succeed, as opposed to putting the burden on him to create in one-on-one situations where he's naturally struggled more. So the shift to prioritize these play types has been a clear positive. But even in situations where he's attacking from the perimeter, Wemby's simplified his game a bit. He's not just taking more good shots, he's also taking fewer bad shots. Part of what was killing Wemby's efficiency earlier in the year, as we talked about, was his heavy reliance on the mid-range. Too often, he'd settle for tough jumpers if he didn't feel comfortable with his handle or didn't feel he could get a step. He'd take smothered jumpers immediately off the catch. He'd take double-team turnarounds out of the post, and even though he's crazy tall, with dudes up in your airspace, those are still bad shots, and he's shot poorly from mid-range all year. But the rate at which he's taken them has gone way down since he moved to center. He's also been a bit more decisive as a driver, emphasizing attacking angles more than trying to break defenders down with fancy dribble moves where he could lose his handle. This is a possession from November. Here's a loose in and out dribble, then he loses the handle on the spin, barely gathers the ball, and just sort of throws up a tough fadeaway with 16 seconds on the clock. Compare that to this more recent possession. He creates the advantage by faking as if he's going to run pick and roll, and that gets him a step going left. Much simpler, much more efficient. Now, he hasn't done a 180 here, and he has to get better in terms of ball security. He still ranks 5th in the league in lost ball turnovers per game on the season, and it's just hard to handle when you're that far from the ground, but he's improved. He's been driving more as of late, and he's been finishing much better after a brutal start there. Wemby's gotten more comfortable being physical as a driver lately, which has definitely increased his efficiency and gotten him some more trips to the line. Wemby can be moved off his spots by physical defenders because he is still slight, and he doesn't overpower people as a driver, so at times he has to finish from awkward angles. But his greatest weapon as a driver is, again, his length. He loves driving left and going to scoop finishes, which can be a bit difficult for him to control because he's holding the ball way out there with one hand, but look at the separation he creates from rim protectors with it. Nobody can affect that. So he's been much better at the rim and has taken better shots, but Wemby's also finally found his three-point shot as of late. In fact, over his last 13 games, he's shot nearly 37% from deep. This was kind of inevitable because Wemby's always been a better shooter than the numbers indicated. The same was true of him before he got to the league. His shot quality can just be rough at times because he relies on these contested jumpers. But he was just on a really brutal cold streak earlier this year that he's now broken out of. Mechanically, his jumper is smooth, his release point is high, obviously, and he's comfortable shooting off movement and has shot well on a small sample of pull-up threes so far this year. So as his three becomes more consistent, which it will, it's going to be a deadly weapon. Wemby's also been able to do more as a passer lately, and I always loved his skill there as a prospect. He's already quite good at running fake handoffs, with excellent timing dotting up cutters with bounce passes, and that timing and placement translates to him finding cutters out of doubles as well, and he's solid at dropping passes off to guys in the dunker spot when he draws multiple defenders. But it's not just designed actions and basic reads where Wemby's effective, he's got some real improvisational feel as a passer. Look at him launch this dart of a baseball pass right to Sochan in transition, who catches it right in stride. Strong outlet passing is always a separator for bigs, and that's pretty special. Here you see Wemby's sense for mapping out the court. Watch him wait for Sochan to cut and deliver this well-timed behind the back dime. This could have been a tough jumper, but he turns it into a really nice pass out in midair, drawing two defenders and creating an open layup for his teammate. And Wemby can even play make out of pick and roll as the ball handler. He's run them at a low volume this year, but created with 63rd percentile efficiency out of those actions, including passes. Look at the sheer value of his size here. We talk about how valuable big ball handlers are because of the passing angles they unlock. We're normally talking about 6'6" or 6'8" dudes. Look at how easily 7'4" Wemby lets this rip over the defense with good timing and feel. At that height, he can see everything. Passing big men are one of the hottest trends in the NBA. Dudes who can run handoffs, make decisions as a short roller, pass out of doubles, spot cutters, and for all his scoring potential and all-world defensive value, Wemby's going to be pretty damn good at that stuff too, and we're already seeing it. Now, Wemby's passing is inconsistent. He can be very inaccurate as a passer, like very inaccurate at times, but his willingness to pass absolutely bodes well. And he can still get a bit of tunnel vision and force tough shots, but he's a rookie big and he's trending in the right direction there. So Wemby's taken strides offensively in basically every way lately, and defensively, he's one of the best rookies we've ever seen and has been from the jump. For all his freakish offensive skill, that defensive foundation was always his greatest strength as a prospect, and boy has he delivered. As the sole rim protector starting now, his block production has taken a leap to a comical 3.9 per game over the last 15 outings, which would be the most by any rookie since David Robinson, only Wemby's doing it in 10 fewer minutes per game while 4 years younger. I don't say this lightly, Wemby has the potential to be the best defensive player ever. Let's just take a look at a few plays from the last game Wemby played in, when he posted a casual 7 stocks, that's steals plus blocks, something he's already done 5 times this year. This play is absurd. He's out of position, trailing Onyeka, but when you have the longest wingspan in the league by a couple inches, you can still cleanly stuff this dunk attempt from behind and corral the board yourself. Here, Wemby unsuccessfully swipes down at the ball and Trey smartly starts to go up into his shooting motion. He's been barbecuing the league for 5 years in situations like this where he has a 2-on-1 out of pick and roll and can either hit a floater or a lob, and Wemby stuffs him like it's nothing. Here, Trey again has that 2-on-1 out of pick and roll, and Wemby easily takes away the lob, then recovers to block Trey's second effort. Wemby has held opposing players 12.4% below their typical field goal percentage at the rim this year, a top 3 mark among the league's 30 most prolific rim protectors, which doesn't even account for the massive deterrent he is, all the instances in which drivers see Wemby patrolling the paint and would do anything to avoid trying him. But it's not just shot blocking where his length has a monstrous impact. He also erases passing lanes, ranking 3rd among all big men with 2.8 deflections per game and averaging a strong 1.1 steals per game. I mean, look at how he just takes this lob away. Wemby's also already an elite rebounder, especially defensively. Since moving to center, he's averaging 11.1 rebounds per game in under 27 minutes per game, meaning on a per minute basis, he's comfortably out-rebounding the current boards champ Domantas Sabonis, and the Spurs have been a much better defensive rebounding team with him on the floor. He's also a problem guarding the perimeter. He moves fluidly, but more than anything, can just erase space on closeouts. And he's held opposing players 5% below their typical field goal percentage outside of 15 feet too. And all in all, the Spurs defense has been 9 points per 100 possessions better with Wemby on the floor, an elite number that reflects his incredibly rare defensive impact as a rookie. And yes, some of the league's stronger post players can overpower him, but his supernatural length, timing, and instincts still make it so difficult to finish. The teams have hardly targeted him in that capacity, and his ability to already anchor a defense as the lone big when Zach Collins was supposed to serve as his metaphorical training wheels, a guy who could handle some of those big body players and allow Wemby to roam more, is just another testament to his historic ability. So make no mistake about it. He may have taken some bumps and bruises, but Wemby is as advertised, especially because he was never going to be consistently efficient from 3 or have seamless wing skills as a rookie. As a prospect, we got real flashes of those things, but it was always going to take time. But he's already firmly trending in the right direction in those areas, and the traits that we knew were generational are generational. Wemby may not win Rookie of the Year, but that says way more about how special Chet Holmgren is, who I called the best prospect since AD before Wemby came along, than it does Wemby, who I'm not saying can't win, Chet just got a head start. But he is phenomenal. This man will be one of the great players in this league. We're already seeing him do things nobody else can, and he has so much room to grow. And seeing that improvement before our very eyes is exciting, and it is terrifying for the rest of the league.